Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Choose UCalgary Podcast. My name is Marcus and I am your Season 7 host for the Choose UCalgary Podcast. On this podcast, we bring in current students, staff, and faculty to chat about student experiences, clubs, research opportunities, and everything our university has to offer. Today, I'm very excited to be joined by Lauren and Sonja. They are both students at the Haskayne School of Business, where we will chat about all things business undergraduate case competitions. And this includes what it is, why students should participate in one, what kind of skills you'll develop, and a lot more. So thank you so much to our guests today, Sonja and Lauren, for being on the podcast today.
Awesome. Thanks for having us.
Awesome. So can each of you introduce yourself a little bit further, a little bit about your background in Haskayne and experience with case competitions?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name's Lauren, and I am a business analytics student is my concentration within the commerce program at Haskayne. And this is actually my first case competition that I've done. I have quite a bit of experience with presenting, but not so much in the formal structure of case competitions, especially like the ICBC competition. So it was a really great experience over the past couple months to learn more about what it's all about. And I am the polar opposite of the experience compared to Sonja, the seasoned case comp vet.
Perfect. I'll introduce myself next. My name is Sonja Mellema. I'm actually a recent graduate of the Haskayne School of Business. I've been very involved in the case competition world. I've done probably close to 20 of them, with ICBC actually being my last competition. And so I got many years and got to travel to several different places doing case competitions, which was incredibly exciting.
Awesome. Thank you both for the introduction. I'm really excited to jump into this episode. So can each of you expand on why you chose to pursue a degree in business and why you chose the University of Calgary specifically?
Yeah, absolutely. I can go ahead. Really, I went into business because I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do coming out of high school. I knew that I enjoyed a lot of different things, and I wanted to pursue a degree that gave me a lot of different options. And I felt like business was just good fundamentals to have, even if 10 years down the road I don't do a job in this specialty. And I've ended up really loving it over the past 4 years and found it's really the place for me to be. I've really enjoyed that there is so much variety within a business degree. If you're more into math and finance, you can do the accounting and finance degrees. Personally, I really enjoy the analytics. I was considering a computer science degree, so being able to pursue business analytics with Haskayne has been a really great combination of a couple of my different interests. And then throughout my degree, I've also been able to take a lot of different classes in different subjects. So I've taken quite a few marketing courses, which is why I've been on the marketing team for ICBC. And so even though it isn't my technical concentration, I'm still able to get a lot of experience in a variety of fields.
Awesome. And go ahead, Sonja.
Yeah, for sure. So I ended up choosing business unconventionally. I did not go through all of high school saying, I'm going to business school. I thought everything between engineer to going to culinary school to doing something entirely different. And it wasn't until I was actually in grade 12 where I was like, you know what? I actually really enjoy business. And that was mostly because of the wide variety of opportunities. You can concentrate in several different areas. So I concentrated in finance, but you could do accounting, marketing, HR. So it was great for all those opportunities. And again, it has those applicable skills. So if I chose not to do business, there's other places to go. And it really just lended its hand to that strategic mindset. And so, which was really beneficial when looking for jobs throughout my program. I ended up choosing the University of Calgary because it was close. Calgary is known to be incredibly sunny, which was important to me. And also the Haskayne School of Business just had a lot of extracurricular opportunities. So case competitions were a big selling point. Study abroad is an opportunity that a lot of students take advantage of within the program. I also really liked the University of Calgary because of the wide array of dual degrees it offered. So I am incredibly nerdy, and so I wanted to do 2 degrees. So I ended up doing a commerce degree with a concentration in finance, but I could also get a degree in arts and studied economics. And so being able to combine all of your different passions into one program was incredibly important to me. And that's one thing that the University of Calgary excelled at.
Yeah, absolutely. And as a business student myself, I believe there's a total of 16 different concentrations in Haskayne alone. So there's a ton of different opportunities for students to go into. And like you mentioned, the University of Calgary is just a great place. We have co-op programs, clubs, study abroad, case competitions, and the list goes on as well too. So for each of you, how did you first get involved in case competitions in Haskayne?
Yeah, so I started learning about case competitions right off of my first year. It was actually one of my professors in one of my first year business classes that I was doing a presentation, and he pulled me aside after class and said, "Have you ever heard of a case competition?" And I'm like, "I have not. Please tell me more about it." And he kind of walked me through the opportunities that come with it, and that it's a really great place to start applying your knowledge of what you're learning in class in a bit more of a real world circumstance. So I had it in the back of my mind since first year, and then of course my second and third years were virtual, and I felt a bit more disconnected from the community and didn't apply to many of the different case competition teams until my fourth year. Absolutely wish I had a couple years earlier, now going through the process. But yeah, so it was now in my fourth and final year that I was on the case competition team. And yeah, and it's been fantastic.
Awesome.
Perfect. So I got involved in case competitions in January of 2019. So I got involved right away in the first and second year of my program. It's heavily advocated for by faculty within the entire business school. And so you hear about it in your classes. You're often doing cases in your classes, but not in a competition environment. And so it kind of felt like a natural first step. I first got involved with the Canadian Centre for Advanced Leadership, also known as CCAL, because they hosted first year competitions. And so I did that for 2 years. And then I kind of moved on to other competitions. So I was involved in JDC West, both as a competitor as well as one of the captains on the team, which was a great step into these international competitions. So ICBC, which is how I know Lauren from. I got to go to London in December of 2022 for a competition that was on sustainability and fashion. And I did actually a lot of competitions through COVID. So I got to compete virtually in Guadalajara and Georgetown, and each of these competitions had a different focus. Some were marketing, some were HR, some were just business strategy. And so I just kind of did one, got the itch for more, and never stopped.
Fantastic. Yeah, I think it's really important to just dip your toe into water and just try a case competition out. Similar to you, my very first case competition was actually with CCAL as well, where I tried out an ethics case competition. So such a fantastic experience, and highly recommend students to do so as well. So, for our listeners who might not know, Lauren and Sonja recently placed first in the marketing event at the Intercollegiate Business Competition, or ICBC for short, to help Haskayne place first overall. So, I believe this is Haskayne's 45th consecutive year now, placing top 3 in national business competitions. So, can you tell us a little bit about your experiences in this case competition? What was it about? How did you end up tackling the case and things of that nature?
Yeah, absolutely. So a bit of a background on the structure of the case. We started training and practicing for this case competition last May. We just finished the competition in January, so it was many months of prep. We would meet on a almost weekly basis doing practices with Dr. Bob, who's been running this competition for the 45 years it's been at U of C. And in October, you get your preliminary case. So that's your case that is sent to you, and you work on it with your partner over the course of 2 weeks, and you write up a strategy and an approach in a written report, and you send that in. And then if you qualify for the final weekend, you get to go to Queens and Kingston and compete for the final weekend. And that's where we were in January. The case that we had in January was actually an Indigenous-focused case. It was a small business out of Ontario focused on Indigenous fashion and design and art. And so we had to create a marketing strategy for them of how they can grow their business, how they can work with larger companies, and how they can diversify their product offering. And we developed a case on how they can really collaborate with the community to expand their business. And that was the core of, honestly, a lot of the marketing cases we've done, is the focus on community and the value that can come from it. And yeah, that's how we the overview of the approach we took.
Yeah, and I think more specifically too, Lauren and I did not know each other before ICBC. So we were new and at the end became friends. And so we had a big advantage going into the resolution room, which is you get 5 hours with the case to analyze it, come up with solutions, and build a slide deck. And then you get to present afterwards and do a Q&A. But we're really lucky because we built this friendship throughout the many, many months of training and practice that we got to a point where, as cheesy as it sounds, it was more like completing each other's sentences. We were able to build off each other. And so it was less conflict in the resolution room of, oh, should we do this or this? And we always came to the same conclusion at the end anyways. So we really just went in, and at the end of the day, you don't know what the case is going to be. You can have some guesses, but you just have to go in ready to adapt and be versatile and just ready to fully commit to a case for 5 hours.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great to hear. And huge congratulations to both of you as well.
Thank you.
And I guess while we're also on the topic, I'm curious to hear if there were any particular memorable or impactful experience that you had from this particular case competition.
Yeah, absolutely. The one that comes to mind that I think is the most applicable really for anyone is our first practice for this case competition. We bombed. We did not do good at all. Even with our combined experience, Sonja's done many, many case competitions. I've done lots of approaches like this. I've worked in marketing. And so we felt pretty confident about our solution that we had created. And we took it up to Dr. Bob, and he's like, that's not it. That's not really how we go about this. And really picked it apart and in a very constructive way. And I think really seeing our growth from that first practice to our final competition, it's like you would think it was written by two completely different people. The approach that you get in the way of understanding the problem. I think one of the biggest things we missed with that very first practice one is case competitions don't always tell you exactly what they're looking for. There isn't always a big question at the end, like there might be on a test or an assignment that says, answer this question. It's a lot more open to interpretation, open to you to help whether it's a business owner or an organization, help them identify what the problem is. So that was really the most memorable thing. And it was a really good learning experience to kind of see that you're not going to get it 100% right the first time. And that's okay. And that's part of the learning process, is to really go in with certain knowledge and expectations and then have that broken apart and really dissected so that you can improve upon your processes.
Yeah, I think in terms of prep for the competition, that's definitely one of the core memories. Being told you've really missed the mark was definitely a humbling experience, but considering where we got, I can't complain. I think when we go and look at the actual competition itself, I think you get a lot of fun experiences. You get to go with the entire ICBC team. You fly out and take a bus to Queens, and you really get to just explore and bond with a team on a whole other level. And so the competition was obviously incredible, and so got to have a lot of time with Lauren and the rest of the team. But I think some of those social activities that happen at these events are also incredibly exciting. One of the after competition events was everyone going out for dinner from all of the different schools. So this was an international comp. So you're seeing people from all over Canada and some that come from overseas for this competition. And we're all going out for dinner, and halfway through dinner, our food arrives at the table and the fire alarm goes off and everyone had to evacuate the restaurant. And it's things like that. Those aren't things that are part of the competition experience, but you're always getting these goofy little memories. And so I'll always remember the comp with Lauren, but I'm also going to remember having a burger in front of me and being told I had to evacuate and came back to cold food, but that's part of the experience.
100%. And the food had just got there. It was hot, and they put it down, and then they said, you got to leave. You got to get out. So.
Oh, man. But overall, that's fantastic to hear, and great to hear that a lot of your experiences extended beyond just the case competition itself. So that's always awesome to hear. Are you looking for a great spot on campus to grab a cup of coffee or a delicious pastry? Then Good Earth at the University of Calgary has you covered. Located inside the Taylor Family Digital Library and the ICT building, Good Earth has a fantastic selection of menu items to create an unforgettable experience. Great stories can be created by merely starting it with a cup of coffee. Hear from a current student at the University of Calgary on why Good Earth is her go-to coffee shop on campus.
If you're anything like me, you can't start your day without a good cup of coffee. Good Earth here at UCalgary has been my favorite spot to get coffee as a student, and they offer a wide variety of drinks and pastries that never disappoint. The next time you're in the mood for a cold, refreshing drink, I highly recommend trying their iced matcha latte, my personal favorite.
So I understand that some case competitions have certain application requirements. How would these requirements vary from a case competition on a smaller scale, let's say within Haskayne, versus a more national case level competition?
Yeah, I'll take that one just because I've got a little more of this application experience under my belt. All of them are very different. The requirements, the application process, it really depends on the competition. ICBC, you applied to be on the team. And so you got to meet with Dr. Bob, who is that main coach, and he's the one that's handpicking who's on these teams. And sometimes it's individuals that have the best resume, and sometimes it's people that have so much experience. It really depends on what he's looking for on the team. Like Lauren and I have different experiences in the workplace, different experiences with case competitions, and yet we were still on a team. And so it really doesn't, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what specific requirements you have. It's your full picture. And so he really looked at that. But then there's competitions like JDC West, which you're applying to be a part of this huge student collective. And the captains, as well as the faculty advisor, go through your application, and they're asking things like, what's your experience and what do you want to learn and how do you want to grow? But then you get some of these international competitions, which do have very different application processes, and those run through the faculty advisors. So for my entire program and my entire experience with international case comps, apart from ICBC, I worked with Cam Welsh, who's an individual at the Haskayne School of Business, and he's actually the one that's getting emails from these competitions asking if he has a team. And so he usually goes around and is asking students that have either stuck out to him in class or who have been a part of a case competition and try putting together a team. Something really beneficial if you're choosing to go to Haskayne and you want to be involved in these case competitions is the case competition class, which is done during block week. Cam Walsh has taught it for several years, and that's where you get to build out all of your case solving skills and really get exposed to case competitions. But again, everyone seems to take a different route into getting case competitions. I met Cam and did JDC West, and that was kind of my foray into case competitions, but other individuals just take his class and start getting into it. So it really depends.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I would say in my experience, I was a professor that just in one of my introduction classes that pulled me aside and introduced me to it. And on paper, ICBC has requirements and GPA requirements. But it's not always just if you fit the box or not. They're really a diverse thought and different ways of thinking about problems are beneficial. So you don't have to be a 4.0 student to do any of these case competitions. It's really important to also have volunteer experience, clubs experience, real world experience, whether it's in your summer jobs or through co-ops. Those all come together to really shape who you are as a student, and you can provide a lot of value to the case competitions beyond just what you've learned in the textbook.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely some great responses. I know a lot of students were curious about the criteria of some of these case competitions, so I'm glad you cleared the air on some of those. So what would each of you say are some key skills you developed by participating in some of these case competitions?
I would say confidence. I think a lot of us go to school and there's a lot to learn, and sometimes you feel like you're at the top of the class and other times you feel at the bottom. And I'd always done public speaking before. I'd done these cases in class. And so I think it really just honed in on confidence as well as networking. You get to meet people from all walks of life, from different schools, from different countries. And so you really kind of learn how to network. You learn what kind of questions to ask, what type of people you like to surround yourself with. But I really do think the biggest thing coming out of it was that the confidence, knowing that I can look at different problems, whether it's accounting or marketing, and I can come up with a strategy. Is it the best one? Who knows? But at least I have that strategic thinking mindset that's going to take me far.
Yeah, and on that as well, is it the best one? Who knows? There also isn't always a right answer in school or in the world of business. That's a great thing, or it can be a very intimidating thing because you may never get the confirmation that you made the right decision. That was the biggest thing that I've learned, is the whole approach to these case competitions isn't, did you tell me the right answer? It's, did you have enough confidence and information and analysis to back up the recommendation that you did provide. So it was just a different way of approaching problems and approaching learning.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say that a lot of these case competitions really build on a lot of your soft skills, like your public speaking,
Yes.
presentation, teamwork, and things like that as well. So for each of you, you briefly mentioned how you were able to kind of work as a team, but can you elaborate how you were able to kind of divide your tasks during the case competition?
Ooh, I think every team you do it on is different. It really depends on the capabilities of the team, what people are passionate about, and really how people are feeling in the team. Some days you might not be feeling 100%, so you've got to trust that your teammate's going to pick up your slack. And so I think for Lauren and I, because we'd done so many ICBC practices, we had set up our process and our method of how we'd get our strategy. And so we always read the case, we sit down together, and we bounce ideas off each other. Because we both had very diverse backgrounds, but both had a very similar mindset in terms of that strategic thinking, it didn't take long for us to find common ground. And then we divide work. And so my primary focus on these cases was going on the analysis end and the implementation end. So I would analyze the situation and really say, okay, what are the key points out of the case that are relevant to the judges, the ones we're presenting to? And then I would also do the implementation. So how are we implementing this? Who are we hiring? How much money do we need? And how long is this going to take? And then considering those risks and mitigation strategies, as well as the KPIs or key performance indicators in terms of how does someone know if this recommendation was successful? And so that's sort of what my responsibility was in the case room. And I'll let Lauren jump in and say what her responsibilities were.
Yeah, and then I'd usually do the middle part, which is the recommendation. So it feels like a division of tasks, but it's really collaborative because I'd have to be building on what Sonja was saying in the analysis and saying, given what we found here about our customers or about our competitors, we think you should do this. And then breaking down not just what you should do, why we believe you should do it, and how you should go about that. And you really need to defend that position and be quite confident in it, not just saying, well, we think that this is best based on the information available. No, we recommend that you take this approach. One of the great things that I think about our team is, yes, the cliche, finishing each other's sentences. We write very similarly, to the point that we could just jump into each other's sections and edit and rewrite a sentence and go back, and I couldn't have told you what I wrote versus what she wrote. So that made it really easy for us to actually literally divide the sections up where other teams might not have that advantage. But yeah, it was still a very collaborative approach the whole time, and we'd be checking in with one another. If I was going to adjust something in my section, I'd say, does this still align with what you're doing and what you're thinking about? So there is a division of like the more tactical writing, but a lot of that strategy has to be quite collaborative.
Yeah, absolutely. I would imagine teamwork and collaboration to be at the top of the list when you are doing these case competitions. So definitely a pretty good pair and team we got over here. So.
Yeah.
So for each of you, how do you think participating in a case competition sets you apart from other students who might not have this experience?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the real world application of a lot of the skills and being able to go beyond the textbook. I feel like a lot of our classes do a really good job of this already. We have a lot of integrated learning programs or co-ops or real industry people come in and talk to us. But being able to then stand behind your own recommendation, stand behind your own strategic thinking. I think that's something that really, it's hard to be taught in a textbook or on a whiteboard, and it really just needs that practice. And I feel quite lucky that I've been able to have 8 months of practice, and it's immediately already transferred into my work that I'm doing. I'm already going back and thinking about different challenges at work differently. How can we approach this from more of a strategic mindset versus just a completion mindset? And I think that it's just a different way of thinking, and seeing the bigger picture is something that may take students a couple years in the industry to figure out why you're thinking this way and why you approach problems from that higher perspective. And it's great that we are able to enter the workforce with those skills.
Yeah, I think very similar to Lauren. I was afforded a lot of privilege and getting to participate in a lot of competitions. And I think the big thing you are getting out of it is you have the advantage of this strategic thinking mindset and also this design thinking mindset. You're looking at the problem first. You're not just trying to check boxes. You're really looking at all of the alternatives. I think another thing that sets you apart is your network you get from it. You meet so many people doing these case competitions, and who knows, maybe one of them is going to be your manager one day, or maybe they're going to be someone you hire. So you really get to meet a lot of individuals. You get that applicable work. And so I would have never had the exposure to marketing, accounting, ethics, had I not done case competitions, because again, I'm studying finance. And so you get exposure to a lot more facets of business in a really intensive way. So you have to learn marketing quick. You have to learn the HR principles quick to be able to compete. And that's the point of these case competitions. Faculty advisors, your teammates, they want you to learn. There's no pressure that you aren't the smartest person in the room or you aren't the expert. It's a very inclusive space. By doing case competitions, you're already 10 steps ahead because you have so much exposure to case analysis, and you're better able to communicate those ideas in an interview setting. So I think while we've listed a few, I think there are numerous we haven't said in terms of the advantages of being a part of case comps.
Yeah, 100%. I would say kind of on a surface level, you'll think a case competition will build on your skills or add it to your resume, but something we don't really realize that you have experience in is kind of that different mindset, that kind of out-of-the-box thinking as well, and that will definitely get you a very long way in your career as well. So,
yes.
So what advice would you give for high school students who are considering participating in a case competition in the future?
I'll be real quick. Just do it.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Just jump in. Again, you don't need to be the expert in the room. Just try it. And for some people, it's not their thing, and that's okay. There are so many other opportunities within Haskayne that you could participate in that might fit what you want better, but just do it. Try it. It's a real jump, but I would recommend it 100 times over.
You don't have to have the answers, right? It's a case competition. There isn't a right answer. You will learn as you go. And like speaking from our experience, Sonja had done 20 case competitions and still didn't have the perfect answer in that first one we did. That's not what it's about. So jump into it, whether it's clubs, case competitions. There's also tons of opportunities to do mini competitions without doing the 8-month commitment right off the bat. There's 1-day competitions that you can do. There's sometimes financial incentive that you can win. It's really a good way just to start trying it out. I wish I would have done it sooner, is my advice.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely some fantastic advice from the both of you. All of our listeners will find a lot of value to what you're saying as well. So just to kind of wrap it up as well, is there anything else you want to add or share about any personal experiences that you've had with case competitions that you think might be valuable to students, or what you have planned for the future?
Guess I'll jump in first. I think the big thing that I would say case competitions and just experience in general for these case competitions is do it because you want to, not because you're trying to fill your resume. Mm-hmm. You're getting a whole lot more out of these case competitions than another line on your resume. I know there's always lots of pressure in your first year of university, even your second, to fill your resume so you can get an internship or you can get that co-op. And while these case competitions are certainly going to help you there, don't do it because you're trying to make another line on the resume. Do it because you really want to and you want to learn. I think that's a really big thing to take in line with case competitions, but anything you're doing throughout university, yes, there's so many things to do, but do them because you want to. I'm super privileged to have been a part of so many, and I'm super excited to start giving back. I know in the next coming months, I'm hopefully going to start helping coach some of these case competitions. So who knows, maybe I'll see one of you on a team.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. It applies to anything you do, whether it's a club, extracurricular, or a case competition. Don't do it for the line on your resume. That only lasts as far as the hiring manager sees it and then moves on to the next one. The value of any of these pieces comes from the experience of doing it. And if you're not able to fully show up and commit to it and absorb everything from the experience, you're not going to be able to learn as much from it. Looking back it's awesome that we were able to win and get some acknowledgement for all the work that we've done. But looking back at the whole experience, that's not what the most valuable piece was. The months and months of working with Sonja and Dr. Bob and the other people on the ICBC team, that's the immense value. So absolutely, just do it.
Yeah, 100%. Well, that is some great advice, and thank you both for sharing all of your experiences in Haskayne and with case competitions as well. Both of you have been such amazing guests, so I just want to thank you both again.
Yes,
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. And,
that wasn't rehearsed.
And as always, everything we chatted about today will be linked in the episode notes. If you need to reach out to the student recruitment team, all of our information will also be provided down below. So a final thank you again to Lauren and Sonja for being part of the podcast. And of course, a huge thank you to all of our listeners out there. And I will see you all in the next podcast episode.